Good day to all you beautiful people out there. Alright, let's get into helping me with a tutorial on the basics of C#. I will not be showing you guys how to download Visual Studio, but I will be using Visual Studio. Our topics for today are as they go over here, which is variables, printing, user input, commands, operators, and using operators. We will go a little out of order, but those are the topics. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, when we open up Visual Studio, just assuming you guys don't know how to use it, we are going to create a new project by either clicking this new project button or clicking File, New, and Project. Alright, we're going to do it this time by clicking New Project though. In the new project, you're going to go to the Windows tab if you're not already there, and we're going to use console application. Let's name this console application basics. You can really name it whatever you want, but since we're doing the basics, let's name it the basics. Alright, gonna try and make this as quick and as easy to follow as possible. Alright. One thing to know about C# just before we get started, you're going to start within a namespace. A namespace is just basically it divides up spaces within a project. So it's mostly for a big team type thing, but we'll get into that later. And then the namespace will contain a class program. Usually one functional program is made up of multiple classes. But, again, we won't get into that right now. But just so you know, we're inside of that class program and this static void main string args method. Basically, it is the main portion of your code where all of the actions and whatnot will take place. So any calls to any other functions will take place in the main so that the main can spit out the results and whatnot. Alright, so let's get into what we came to learn. Alright, I'm going to teach you guys first about comments because it is important to know how to comment your code. It will help down the road when you start to get complicated code and you want to come back and revisit things. And if you don't have comments, you won't know what anything is. For instance, let's say you wrote all this and there's no comments. What in the world is all that? Obviously, it's not code that you write. It's just kind of you're importing things, but we'll get into that again later. All right, let's get started. So to do a comment, use these double slashes. Double slashes basically means that anything on this line will be commented out. And if I go to the next line, now it's not commented. You'll know by the change in colors and the red line that it gives you when it's not commented. To comment more than one line, you will use the dash star. As you can see, everything after the dash star has turned into comment. And it'll comment everything and anything until it finds another star dash. So everything in between these two things will be commented, see? Alright, we won't be using that one too much for now, but it's good to know how to do things. So let's get into this. Alright, we're going to create our variables here. So let's use comments throughout the code so you can see how to keep it neat. Alright, so all of our variables. What are variables? In variables, you can have integers. Basically, an integer is a number without a decimal place. So any number such as 1.0 will not work, or 1 point anything, or something point something. Obviously, you get the point. But when you declare a variable, it's always the type of variable it is, followed by what you would like to name the variable you're about to declare. So we want to name this variable num for number, and then we set our variable equal to whatever we want it to be. So any number from 1 to basically infinity. So we're going to make this one 5 just because. And you could add comment beside it to say this is an integer number without a decimal, but that's fairly unnecessary once you get into coding more intricately, I want to say. You will be able to name your integer basically whatever you want it to be, and that name should be able to tell you what you're going to be using this number for. So if we were using it to figure out how much money we made today, you'd name it something like money for today. Money for today equals 5, and you could use it accordingly along your work. So it would read out pretty easily, basically. All right, let's continue on. All right, our next one will be a double. What a double is unlike an int, a double is able to contain a number with a decimal place. And that's basically the difference. So we're going to name this one number 2. Remember, it always goes your variable name and then what you want, well, your variable that you're using, what you want to name it, and then equals whatever you want it to be. So we're going to make this one 2.0. And just to see the difference between the two, if I try to make this 2, it works. So it can take integer numbers, but it just allows the decimal place to be there. But if we go up here and we try to make this one 5.0, see how it becomes red? It cannot take a double. An integer is solely a number without decimal places, something that comes out evenly. All right, our next one will be a float. A float is much like a double, whereas it can be an int, it can be a double, or it can be, basically it allows you to edit how much it prints out at the end, but we won't get into that right now because it's not very important. So let's name this one num2. And the difference between a double and float, let's make this a double again, 2.5. All right, let's make it different. All right, see if we try to name this one 2.5, we get this error. You always have to end a float with an F. This indicates to the computer that it is a float indeed, and you can use it. All right, our next variable will be a string. All right, strings here. You call it a string. Let's name our string words. And the difference between declaring a string from declaring any of the previous 3 would be you have to follow up your equal sign with quotes. The quotes let the computer know that you are indeed typing a string or a series of words. Anything in between the quotes is considered as a series of words, no matter whether it's a number or an operator or anything. So I could type, I have 5 apples times 2. That's a string. It will not even recognize this as anything other than a string unless I indicate it somewhere else and then add it on. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But let's continue on. The last variable I'm going to show will be var. Basically what var does is it indicates to the computer that you're not sure what you want to expect from this variable you're about to declare. So say for instance you declared something var that you would be taking back from the user, like the user would be given an input and you wanted to receive whatever they gave you as a var. So you didn't know if you wanted an integer back from them, or a double, a float, or a string from them. So you name it var. And let's name this anything. And to demonstrate, I can give the var double quotes and it's happy. I could take away these double quotes, give the var a 1, it's happy. I can give it 1.21, it's happy. Doesn't matter what it gets, it's going to decide what it is based off of the information that it's given. But for now, we're just going to leave it at a 1. All right. that's pretty much it for the variables. Now we're going to talk about how to print. And just for the good measures, I'm going to comment this and says, let's computer decide variable type for me. All right, so that's the lazy variable for right there. Anyway, let's get into it. All right, our next topic is printing. So print things to screen. That's what we're going to be doing. All right, whenever we want to print something, we're going to be calling this basic function. First, we're going to be talking to the console. So we're always going to ask the console. We're going to ask the console to write for us. And as you see, it gives us two options here. We can write. And by the way, this is a method, so it's followed by parentheses. Or we can ask the console to write line. Method followed by parentheses. The difference between the two is when you write, after your write has been performed, it will not go to the next line. For instance, like say I just wrote this here and now I go to the next line. It won't do that. It'll stay in the position that it left off. So it'll stay right here, and the next time you call it write, it will add like so. It'll add on to it. And with the write line, say for instance I just wrote write line, it will end like that, and the next time I perform any type of write, it will be on the next line afterwards. That's the basic difference between the two. More than likely you'll end up using write line unless you have something that you want to go together, such as maybe one string that says my bank account equals, and then on the next string you wanted to put the number, and then it would stick together, if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I'll show you right now. So let's do it. Okay, inside of the write method, you always have to have the quotes just as you did when you wrote a string, because anything in here will be considered a string. Well, anything in these quotes will be considered a string. All right, so just for example of how it will work, let's put my account number is, and do that and put a space, just make it look neat. And here we're going to use write again, just so you can see how it performs. And we're going to write what my account number equals is one bunch of random numbers. All right. And to run your program, we're going to hit Control-5. If we do click Start up here, it will run your program just the same, but you won't be able to see what's happening. It'll kind of just run through to make sure it works, and it'll exit out immediately after it finishes. Let's demonstrate that. See, it just kind of blinks, and it says, okay, it exited with no problems. So we're always going to hit Control F5 so that we can see what's happening. Control F5. Now, as you can see, my account number is this right here. Anytime we hit Control F5, this will be there just to tell us how to exit from seeing this screen at the end. So press any key to exit. Okay. And since we did a write, that last phrase is printed right afterwards, just as I told you, it won't indent. Okay. Enough of that. Now we're going to go to we're going to ask the console to write line for us so we can see the write line. Write line. And by the way, anything that we write, any sentence we write, basically, let's think of it as English. Any sentence you write out, it's going to be ended with a semicolon. It's just like a period in this case, just for reference, if you were wondering what all the semicolons are for. Okay, in this line, we're going to write, I went down a line. Oh, no. We're just going to write hello. Hello. Okay, let's run this. Control F5. Now you can see this was the first write. This was the second write, so it didn't go anywhere. And since this was a write, the line stayed right here, and our hello printed behind it. But after our hello, it indented so that everything else would write on the next line. And that's basically how it will work. For a cleaner cut example, I will make everything right line so you can see how it works more clearly. All right, let's Control F5 and see. Everything goes down to the next line. It looks pretty clean. All right. Aside from that, you can also call any variable that you have assigned within your write method, within either the write or the write line method. So say for instance, we had defined this number as our account number. Instead of writing an account number there, we could just write num for our integer name, and it will display just so. All right, let's Control F5 it. Hello, my account number is 5, just as the num states. And you can use that in any way you like. You can also do some operations in here. So if I wanted to, I could go num plus num1. So I could do the integer 5 plus the double 2.5. Now, when we do the int plus the double, in some cases it won't allow it, depending on how strict your work is. But in most cases, it will take precedence of the double if the number is ending in a point something. So if it ends in 0.0, it will take precedence of an integer because it's evenly. But if it takes 0.1 through 0.9 or any other decimal, it'll become a double, as we can see by running this. Control F5. My account number is 7.5, and let's change it. Change it to 0. And Control F5. My account number is 7. Okay. That's pretty much it for that part. Oh, wait. Another important thing to know. Another way to go down a line other than using write line, within your string call, there is a function that is called /n. What /n does is, while it's reading its string, anytime it sees this /n, it will automatically go to the next line and print what's after the /n. And as many times as it sees it, it'll do it. So if I did /n, /n1, /n2, it would read, my account is new line 1, new line 2, and then it would go to a new line because this is a write line, and then print this out. So let's see that happen. Control F5. My account is new line 1, new line 2, and we put a space after the new line, so we have this little indent here. All right, let's move along. Next topic is going to be user input. So we're going to comment that, take user input. Okay, to take a user input, much like the console write line, we're going to ask the console again. We're going to go console, can you, instead of writing line, read the line? You can also use read, but it's more uncommon to use read. Don't want anything to get all jumbled up, so we're going to use read line for this one. And read line is a method, so it's followed by these parentheses here. All right, in read line, we will not be specifying anything inside of read line because what we are reading is going to be what the user inputs. So basically what's happening is we're telling the console to ask the user to enter what it can read. So let's see how that works here. Control F5. All right, from where we see it, we're just going to see this blinking thing because now it's waiting for the user to enter something. See, now we can enter, and then it'll end the program. To make it actually ask, we have to, again, write to the screen. So Let's ask the console to write a line for us, to prompt the user to enter something for us. All right, right. Please enter something. Smiley face. All right, let's write. Control F5. Please enter something. Smiley face. Smiley face. Winky face. All right, see? Simple as that. Now, to actually take in what the user has written, you can store it as a variable. To do that, you can either declare a variable up here, like so. Since we have our variables listed up here, let's do it up here. Oh no, actually let's just make our anything variable a read line. So we're going to take anything, since we don't know what it can be anything that the computer decides it is. So we're going to take our anything and make it equal to the console.readline. Oh, see, we get an error here. The error is because we've already assigned it a 1. So the computer decided that this variable is an integer. So now we can't use it like this. So a way that we could get around that is not declaring it to start, and then it would be considered anything that this thing gives us. But we're not going to do that. We are going to make a whole new variable. So far, because we don't know what their user is going to enter, we're going to call it user input. And we're going to make it equal to whatever the user gives us. So now, whether the user gives us an integer, a double, or a string, the computer will decide for us. So we're going to take that input, and then we're going to print it out on this line here. So console.writeLine. As you can see how a lot of the things kind of work together as we go on. Write line. We're going to write, this is the user's input. And why not? I'm going to show you something new here. All right, you can add on to a string by simply, after you wrote your string here, you can add any variable that you have by simply putting a plus sign and then the variable name. So we're going to put a plus sign in our variable name here, user input. And if you want to add more words after your user input, you would simply put another plus sign and then start your quotes again. If you were to put a plus sign and then another variable, it will come out more differently. So let's see, number 1. If I were to do that, this now becomes an operation of addition. So it will try and add user input and num1 together, whereas this, a string and a variable, is more like a concatenation or a combining of the two. It just kind of combines them together and tacks one onto the end of the other. So that's the difference between that. As you saw up here where it kind of added them, you'll see how it doesn't add them here. All right, let's have this and run it. Okay. Control F5. My account does all that. And we say, please enter something. So we're going to enter winky face again. This user, wow, the user input is a winky face. Press anything to continue. So you see how it kept my variable and it printed it out right there. Okay, let's move right along then. Next thing we're going to talk about is operators. Let's comment that. Operators. I think I spelled that wrong. Right. Operators. Oh my gosh. Spelling is atrocious. Operators. There we go. That looks more correct. Alright, under operators, we're going to add another comment to just kind of specify what each operation is. we're going to abbreviate. So to add, that's a plus sign. To subtract, sub, that is a minus sign. To multiply, mult, we're going to use a star. And to divide, we will be using this backslash. Oops, sorry. I'm using the backslash. And our only odd operator would be the percent sign. So it's going to be percent sign. Instead of writing the name of this one, I'm just going to explain how it works. So basically, a percent sign, what it does is it takes the division of two numbers. So say, for instance, 2 divided by 2. It takes that division, and then it returns the remainder of the division. So whereas 2 divided by 2 would be 1 with a remainder of 0, it will return 0. So basically, you can use the percent sign to indicate whether a number is divisible by a certain number. So say you were pulling from a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, and you wanted to know which ones were divisible by 2. It would give you back 2 and 4 equals 0, so those two are divisible by 2. So, okay, for this one, we're just going to write returns the remainder of a division between two numbers. Okay. All right, let's get into it. All right, I'm going to show you 2 ways you can use, well, actually, it's already got it up here. This is one way we can use it. We're going to copy paste this just for time. So copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. All right, we're going to do each one in here. As you can see, you can use the variables, num. Any variables that are numbers, you can use that to perform an operation. So we're going to keep the num in num1 just for this example. So we're going to do num1 subtraction. We're going to do num multiplication. We're going to do division. Oops, sorry. Division, num. And we're going to do our remainder and see what that gives us. Okay, so for the sake of time, we're going to comment out these so that they will not appear in our, when we run the program. So just comment these out. So do not ask for user input. All right, Control F5, let's run them. Okay. All right, after the hello is where we start down here. So as you can see, num equals 5 and num1 equals 2. So 5 plus 2, 7. 5 minus 2, 3. 5 times 2, 10. 5 divided by 2, 2.5. Turn to double. And 5% 2, 1. It's a remainder of 1. Goes into it twice. Meh. Goes into it twice with a remainder 1 yet. Okay. Another way we can do this is we can actually declare these things as variables, as we did up here. And to do that, you simply would go, let's just start it from fresh. All right, let's make an int. I'm gonna name this int add, and add equals 2 plus 2. Okay, gonna make another int. This int is going to be subtract, and it's going to be equal to 2 minus 2. Another int, mult, is going to be equal to 2 times 2. Another int, and make this one division, equals to 2 minus 2. And last but not least, we're going to do int remainder equals to 2%. 2. Okay, and just like when we put them in the print line, to print to the screen, instead of printing to the screen, they will be stored into these variables, and we can call them freely. Now, I'm going to show you, I'm going to call these all to the screen at once using one print line method and show you how that works. All right, let's go. So we're going to ask the console to allow us to print a line. In this line, we're going to be using the /n that I talked about so that they all print on separate lines. All right, we're not even going to write any text in here. We're just going to print the result of add plus our /n. Our /n always has to be in quotes, by the way. And then we're going to copy paste this for just to write it later. Copy. Right. Plus, we're going to put subtract after that, plus another /n, plus our multiplication, plus one more /n, plus our division, plus the last /n, and plus our remainder. So what this would do is it would read, show the results of add, plus go to a new line, then show the results of sub, go to a new line, show the results of multiplication, go to a new line, show division, new line, show remainder, and then new line again to end this off. All right, let's print this and see how it looks. Control F5, and there you have it. Let's put it next to this. 2 plus 2, 4, 2 minus 2, 0, 2 times 2, 4, 2 divided by 2, 1, and the remainder of 2 divided by 2, 0. And as you can see, add, sub, mult, divide, remainder, all in order. Okay. That's pretty much it for using these operators. All right, last but not least, I'm going to show you how to increment, which is fairly simple. Let's make a tab for it anyway. Incrementing numbers. Okay. Basically to increment. All right, we're going to use our add function here. If we wanted to increment the sum of 2 plus 2, we would simply call our add, and then we would make this add equal to itself plus whatever we wanted to increment by. So let's use 1. So increment it by 1. And the result, let's comment as the result equals 2 plus 2 plus 1. That's our result for that line, which equals 5. And then an easier way to call this, a much more clean, would be to call add, and instead of making it equal to itself plus 1, you could put your operator before the equal sign. So plus equals 1. It performs the exact same function as this one, but much cleaner, much easier to read. It simply reads add equals add plus 1. So it reads just like this one, but it's kind of more combined, so to speak. Okay. So we're going to keep that one there, and what's going to happen is it's going to perform this operation, and then it's going to move down, and add is going to be 5 here, and it's going to perform the same operation. So 5 plus 1 here. It's going to be 5 plus 1 equals 6. And just to show, it won't print the 5, but we're going to print out the last result of add. So one more time, we're going to ask the console to let us write a line. We're going to print out the result of add. So we should be getting a 6 here. Just so we know that this is the line indeed, we're going to put some text in front of it. Add equals, and then the result. All right, let's see how it goes. Control F5. All right, here we are. Add equals 6, just as we said here. Add equals 6. Close that out. All right, just to show you, you can use any function you want in front of this thing here. Let's make this 100. and use multiplication this time. So multiply, so add equals 100. Add equals add multiplied by 100. That's what it reads. So it'll be 5 multiplied by 100, so we should be getting 500 from that. So 5 multiplied by 100 equals 500. So we should be getting from it. All right, let's run it and see. Although it'll say add equals because we still have that here, but add equals 500, just as we said, 500. All right, that's it for this tutorial. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you would like to see the same tutorial in Java, let me know, because these are fairly similar, minus a few things here and there. But for now, may peace be with you, and good day.